Operation Status Quo. Operation Status Quo. Prepare to engage. Operation Status Quo. Ready to engage. Operation Status Quo. Engaged. 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 Once again, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to... Oh, I got paper. Look at this. You can see it on the camera. I got paper stuck to me on my... That's funny. Oh, gosh. That's how it goes. That's how it goes sometimes. What did I say? I'm Pete Palma. Hello. Welcome. Operation Status Quo here on a beautiful, happy Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, on the 18th of May in the good year 2023. So happy for you to join us, join me and my guest here today. We have a special guest. Happy for you to join us here today on Operation Status Quo, where, of course, you know, we observe the status quo of life. We learn to flow with the quo of life, and then we create our own flow of quo. Because that's the only way to go, don't you know? All right, I'm starting to get pretty good at rhyming this thing out, so I like it. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, well, we have no stranger to us here today, a good friend of the show and my brother, of course, Michael Palma of Personalized Wellness Solutions. And let me bring him up over here. Where are we here? Oh, there he is. Hey, Mike, little round of applause for you. Welcome back.
How you doing?
Oh, I got to tell you, I'm doing well, thank you. The feedback of our shows has been astronomical. I mean, the letters are coming in, the emails are coming in. People are so happy with all the positive vibes that we're sharing out there and helping them to learn to empower themselves and take control of their health is generally what we touch on here on these episodes of Operation Status Quo. So today, as another topic that we're touching on is exercise and exercise as medicine. We had a little conversation talking about, you know, a lot of times people generally think of exercise as, well, one, it's a chore, they don't want to do it, or two, they need to do it to lose weight or something like that. But the benefits of actually, you know, moving your body in a sense go far beyond just our kind of mainstream view of it being a chore. So we have Mike here today to speak on that as exercise is medicine. And Mike, what do we got?
It's good and we're really enjoying our conversations we've been having weekly, and I hope we're getting a following and people are enjoying the information that we're putting out, because each week, step by step, I think you learn one new thing in over a year, 365 days, you know, you really can change your mind and become a whole new person. So it's really important that you know, we get this information out and that people enjoy it and start to change a little bit. So that's what I'm most excited about.
And it's funny, you know, just in general, because we do obviously talk about, you know, health issues and such. So and like you're saying, it's important to get the information out and, you know, for people to, you know, it's just a space to kind of create a new way of looking at the things that we think we already know, in a sense, right? We're raised so much. I mean, just go to the doctor, you know, this is the whatever shots you take this year when you're this age, and, you know, you get to be this age and your blood pressure and this and that. Now you're on this medicine and different type of things. And it's just like this kind of process that's just like everything else in our kind of world. There's this program when there's really so much more depth to the information.
Yeah, one thing I'm the most proud of and excited about is to talk about alternative ways of healing. And, you know, I mentioned before that I have a medical background and going to a traditional school of college and learning health and exercise science. But my real passion is alternative medicine and medicine that is health and wellness ideas also that haven't been mentioned or that are not in the mainstream or not popular, or even sometimes if you look them up or Google them, will be called pseudoscience. And I like to empower people to show them, because one of the things that I find most interesting is that all this knowledge is free. So like most of the stuff that will heal you and make you well is free and doesn't involve medication, insurance plans, and expensive doctor bills.
Right, exactly. So to get into the crux of the concept of exercise as medicine, so let me pose the question to you then. If you were to come across someone, a client or something that reached out to you and they're sick, whatever their condition may be, or are you suggesting that there are certain types of exercise that work for certain conditions, or, I mean, how would you label it?
Yeah, I would look into the history first of what exercise is. So I'm into psychic abilities, mediumship, and one of my heroes and one of the people I really looked up was Edgar Cayce. And Edgar Cayce is the Godfather. I would say the grandfather. Right, that's a movie, but he's the grand. Right, he's the grandfather of holistic medicine, and he would channel information, and he has over the most volumes of anyone of history written down of alternative ways of healing yourself. And he talks about exercise as being one of the fundamental parts of being well. And when we talk about exercise, nowadays it's about like doing like a HIIT program, or maybe doing yoga, or doing a specific like a weight training or bodybuilding. We get into these Pilates, we get into specific things, but really what he was suggesting is just a simple walk or just movement. So exercise, what I'm trying to really get through today, more than losing weight, is that our bodies need exercise every day in some form of movement. Right. So our culture, where we could sit behind a desk for 8 to 12 hours, or we could sit for retired, sit in front of a TV for 8 to 12 hours, or our children sometimes with video games can sit around for 8 to 12 hours just playing video games. So it's really important that we carve out some time for us to have just natural movement. And natural movement could be simply cleaning your house, it could be dancing, it could be walking, it could be these simple modalities, but the body is designed to move. And if we do not move it, it will not be well. And that's one of the fundamental principles. Even Hippocrates, who was a Greek physician, he said the same thing about exercise, and his big thing, and it matches up with A.R. Casey, is just a simple idea of walking. I would say at the very least that everyone can do today is just walk every day for 20 to 30 minutes outside in fresh air.
And it's funny you mentioned about the walking, because I just was watching someone speak on one YouTube thing I was watching that was talking about just going for a walk for, like you say, 10, 20 minutes or something. No, I forgot how long he said, but generally how many of your white blood cells are created just from going from a walk. Have you heard it actually?
Yeah, exactly. White blood cells. And I would say that if you're looking for like a prescription, how on TV you'll see, take this prescription for this pill, you have this disease, this ailment. I mean, I can go, there's how many, a million of them, right? There's a new ailment every day on TV with some medication you could take to prevent it. And I would say that exercise, your body has its own medication. It has hormones and neurotransmitters and chemicals that will be released when you walk or exercise that will internally do the same thing as taking a medicine. So what I'm suggesting is the body already has its own ability to heal itself. That's the biggest things that any holistic doctor, anyone who's into alternative medicine, anyone who knows psychic type of phenomenon would say is that, we are our own healers. Our bodies heal ourselves. I mean, the example is, I'm into pranic healing, which is energy work, bringing energy down to heal the body. And it's the same thing with exercise. Your body is that same type of way. We've been taught that our body is not, as miraculous it is, but it's like a machine, like it's like a Ferrari, for example. And, if you put the right gas in the Ferrari and you treat it the right way, it'll run like that. But if you don't, then it'll run like a Pinto, right?
Yeah, right. And go ahead. I'm sorry, finish.
No. Oh. So it's that same idea that, what I'm trying to suggest is that our bodies are really miraculous. They're God-given. They come from God. We all go to church and have these beliefs, but we don't realize. Then we kind of go out and then we just put our hands in, and we put our hands with doctors and medications and chemo and radiation, and we have all these other ways of healing ourselves. But I would suggest that the best healing device is ourselves. Mm-hmm. And unlock these hidden techniques, keys, and philosophies that have been hidden from us. We can unlock this, internal health, this elixir of health that can be. And it's really just simple steps taken, actionable steps taken every day. And that's the issue, because most of us don't take these steps every day. We'll do it for a week, we'll do it for 2 weeks, we might do it for a month. Then life hits us and we get busy and then we stop. And that's the real issue. So, it's keeping ourselves accountable and making these simple, actionable steps that over a long period of time will have a huge impact on our lives.
Yeah. And the same thing, like it's, when you really think about it, during the, pandemic time, they kept everybody inside, and all that, when really, going for a walk outside would, getting fresh air, getting sunshine, letting your white blood cells, especially something you're worried about being sick, right? We're talking about, it's a killer virus. So why would you not encourage people to, hey, get out, move your body? It increases your white blood cell count, which will help you, help your immune system fight off anything you may get. It's just the dynamic of what is taught compared to what we are. It's kind of amazing to see the
right
difference.
And everything like we had talked about inverted, and everything is to disempower us, and and unfortunately we all have these expensive insurance plans that we set our basis off, but the insurance plan isn't going to save you. That's the unfortunate part. You are going to save you with the small actionable steps that you take every day. And you were right about the pandemic in a sense that the first thing they did is close down the gyms and said, stay away from gyms and stay away from exercise, in general, stay away from people, right?
Yeah.
Stay away
I
from
mean, even church, stay away from spirituality.
all the stuff that was going to basically heal you, and it's all free, and it's everything that intuitively we all know. I think I'm not have to be an expert or an intuitive healer to even understand any of this. I think any natural common sense person would know that you want to be around family and friends, and when they were having people in retirement homes and they weren't able to see them and they were dying and they said to stay away. I mean, I think on some level everybody knew that was wrong, but I mean, I think that's just common sense, but maybe I'm wrong. And fear does many things. But getting back to exercise, you're so correct, because with exercise, your white blood cells increase, but also, like, if you're looking at diabetes, for example, like glucose. So when you eat sugar, it goes into the cell, and the main way to get sugar or glucose into the cell is just through movement, through exercise. So if you're worried about diabetes, just going for a walk for 30 minutes will solve that problem. You know what I mean? It's and having a good diet, obviously, cutting out your processed foods and limiting, not that you can't have sugar. Of course, you can have fruit, and you can have, potatoes and rice and yams and whole grain pastas and, everything of that nature. It's just everything in moderation. But, the fact is that simply walking will affect what a medication for diabetes would do. So you have a choice. You could take a pill for diabetes, or you can go for a walk every day and do your food choices, and
Yep.
these are simple things. Another thing is osteoporosis. So we look at, as we get older, our bone density. If look at astronauts, for example, when they come back from space, their bone density is weaker. And one of the main things they have to do is to increase their bone density because of gravity. So, we need to move every day and, weight training. But even if you don't want to weight train, simple stretching, simple push up, a simple squat, or just sitting in your chair, coming up and down 10 times will do wonders for you. And it'll prevent osteoporosis, and it'll also make it so that your spine stays straight, and that you have good alignment. So, that's another thing. So you could take a pill for osteoporosis, or you can simply just have an exercise program into your day.
Let me just interject real quick. I just curious. It made me think when you were saying that. What about like someone who has some sort of condition like a multiple sclerosis or something like that, where their body, I mean, it's harder to move. Not that you can't exercise, but I mean, is there a way of exercising your way? I mean, I know this goes into more levels of just exercise, but to get someone's body back to where you're not even feeling the pain of that type of thing.
Yeah, what you're suggesting for that is a harder case, and that's something that would need special attention. So that's something that would need coaching from someone like me or an expert, because it's multifaceted and it's not that simple. When
Right.
I'm for the average person who has no ailments and is just looking for simple advice, for someone like that would involve energy work. It would involve cleaning their blood out and get into an alkaline environment with their food choices. It would involve working on their mental state, and then the physical on top of it. So I mean, that would be a really complex type of multi-layered approach to really heal that.
Yeah, I mean, I think of some of those kind of ailments that are like chronic conditions, even like Crohn's disease.
Yeah, well, Crohn's disease is a stomach issue, and that's
Yeah.
where you don't digest food well, and that
Right.
9 out of 10 times comes from emotions of worry and fear.
Right. So now let
So
me. So since we're focused on exercise, then more so,
Right.
right. Just to say, I know a little bit, but I mean, because it's
Oh,
it's hard to kind of limit it because it is. What's
It's
that?
all intertwined.
Yeah.
You're right. It's hard because it's all intertwined. It's mind, body, spirit. And that's what's so hard about with what I do. I mean, and like, if you look at masters of mind, body, spirit, like the great yogis or the, I don't want to get, but the great prophets like a Buddha or a Jesus, and, people who are teaching these kind of concepts, I mean, they're masters. And to become a master, I mean, there's very few masters, right? And the reason they're, these people are masters is because you can just see how when we've gone to these conversations over a couple podcasts, how complex it is and how layered it is and how subtle it is. I mean, you have to be so aware of your subconscious and all these little things you're thinking, and then you have to be aware of the pollutants, and then you have to be aware of the spiritual. I mean, there's so many subtle layers, and you have to know when to use what. I mean, it's like a great baseball player, or anyone who's great at something. They can tell you the basics, but you're never going to do what they do because you just aren't them, and you're not a master of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
No,
I mean,
it's true. Yeah.
just not that simple, unfortunately. And like, I try to give simple advice, but there's only 1 in a million of these kind of people around, and that's the difficult part about this. And that's why it takes lifetimes to become a master. And and that's why masters were held in such high regard.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I'm giving you is just tips, and unfortunately it's trial and error, and everyone has to do it what their level is. I mean, you even have, for example, just like karma, for like Jesus, for example, like he could heal people, but if it was their karma to suffer and not to be healed, then he wouldn't heal them. And that's the part that we usually don't hear about with those type of teachings.
Right.
So even that people are supposed to suffer because that's part of their karma from past lifetimes. So I mean, it's a different way of thinking than our medical system would even understand, right? So
no, and I agree with that 100%. I say that all the time, like, because people who would counter some of the stuff that we talk about is like, oh, well, I ate well and I did this and I did that and I still got sick, or this still happened. Or, we talk about Wayne Dyer is a good example, someone who was trying to live this way, but still had these anger issues that, weren't resolved, that created his cancer that then became a heart attack, so.
Yeah. A fascinating topic because he was on Oprah at the time, and he went on there because he had John of God, or I believe was his name, but he did an energy healing on him, and he felt healed. And I do energy work, and at the time, I didn't really understand it as much as I do now. And looking back on it, energy work is great. It'll heal people. I've done it for you, and I even have done it for your cat, like you talked about.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is it only works for 12 hours, and if you don't change you, ultimately it'll come back again anyway, because it all stems with your thoughts, your mind, and how you think.
Right.
So, with Wayne Dyer, he had childhood trauma with his dad. And he had a lot of anger and resentment that he never dealt with, even though he felt like he did. He still had some, and you could feel it in him. And so even though he got healed with, John of God of healing him, he never really resolved those issues. So that red in him, that anger still was proliferating, and it caused, heart attack, stroke, or, what red disease causes in energy medicine.
Right. Because I mean, that's the main point of, we can break it down into all the topics, whether it be exercise and the show we did on herbalism and, whatever time. But the ultimate thing is, if you really take it to a point of, everything's oneness in a sense that, your time is your time, your story is your story. You work out, you have to work out. But like you say, with the karmic lessons or whatever needs to be done, if it's part of the journey, it's part of the journey. You're not, no matter what.
Yes, that's very true. And that's why even everything I do, ultimately, it's great and it's a resource, but, some things are just out of our control no matter what. Right. So, I mean, part of, esoteric teaching is just having acceptance over what is, even when there's nothing left to accept, or to do, because right. We're all going to have time when it's our time. And the only thing we can only control or power we have is accepting that, there's nothing else we can do, and that whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And that's part of the spiritual process.
Yeah, that also doesn't mean we shouldn't exercise, though, right?
No. These, topics we get offhand, but at the same time, we really didn't get offhand because they're all intertwined. It's all part of this station. But getting back simply to exercise, and the movement, it is something that we need to do every day, and it's something that just needs to be part of our lives. So I would just encourage everyone and say that everything that you see on TV for all these medications can simply be done by a half hour to 45-minute exercise program. Yep. And it's really doesn't have to be that complicated. Like I said, it could be walking, a couple push-ups, some squats, some great stretching. One of the things that I really want to mention or make people understand is, our body needs to detoxify. And Edgar Casey gets into this, Hippocrates and all these alternative individuals talk about detoxification, right? And so you do that through sweating. And what's a great way to do that is if you exercise and sweat at the same time, right? You knock out two birds with one stone. And also we have it's called a lymphatic system, and our lymphatic system gets rid of all the waste products we have. So it's just like, think of your lymphatic system. If you had a fish tank and you also, and the filter, how it cleans out all the particles in the fish tank, that's what your lymphatic system does.
Right.
And if you don't move, if that's not moving and you don't have the filter, then everything starts to build up in the fish tank. Right. And all the pollutants just stay there. So that's what the lymphatic system does. But the lymphatic system cannot move without pressure or osmosis. So without movement or pressure, like the filtration won't move. So when we do it in the fish tank, we plug it into the wall with electricity, and then that makes it flow. So think of movement as your electricity into the fish tank, and that's what allows toxins to move out.
Yep, understood.
Another way to think of your lymphatic system as a metaphor is like an orange. If you look at an orange, all the white things that come, and once you peel an orange away, you see the white on top of the orange itself. You'll see white kind of lines coming in. So your lymphatic system wraps around your internal organs, your muscles, your tendons, and your ligaments, and that's how it moves through the pressure. So these are things to understand, and understand that this lymphatic system will not move properly without movement. So that's why, for example, even in space, that's why they have an exercise program. If you look at astronauts, for example, they have they weight train out in space. So they go on treadmills, and it seems very funky in the way they do it, but it actually it's fundamental, and they have to do this. It's just to maintain health out in space, because our bodies weren't meant to be that way.
Right. Well, that one's hard for me, because you know how I am with the flat Earth thing. so I'm not sure about if we're out in space or not. I'm just joking around, but yeah. But the concept, I'm just saying that as a joke. But the concept of what you're saying, obviously. But it's funny that you mentioned even about the detox, because that's actually when the paper got stuck to me. That's what I had written down, because I wanted to mention, when you do hard workouts, like lifting weights and stuff, and you build up all the lactic acid, I guess even running, I don't know if that does it too or not, but you could speak to it, and about the importance of detoxing. Again, like even when you exercise, it's still important to detox,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Exercise is detoxing, and so it's just part of the process. And also, you are correct that when you do intense exercise, you do create lactic acid, which then also does pollute the body. But the great thing about that is you can simply combat that by using sodium bicarbonate, and you could put a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon in your water once in the morning and once at night, and a liter of water, and that'll combat the lactic acid. So,
yeah.
Athletes who are trying to save, especially Olympic athletes who are trying to shave off just even a second of their time, which can mean a difference between second and first place, already incorporate this. And there's been a research study done in the American Journal of Medicine and many others that have been peer reviewed that show sodium bicarbonate prevents and helps lactic acid build up.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the biggest takeaways from everything, as far as what we're saying, is it's not as people look at exercise maybe as such a laborious thing that they have to and the truth is it's like myself. Our grandmother, obviously a wonderful example, lived a very long, healthy life, and what did she do? She walked every day. She did her little exercises a little bit, I know you trained her from time to time too and everything. And, but overall, I mean, she was walking, and I've taken that. Like I walk every day. I walk almost like 3 miles every morning. It's like how I start my day, for just a nice walk. And it makes just a huge difference. And I think another part of it is talking about killing two birds with one stone, like kind of what you said before. When you're doing something like that, just going for a walk or whatever your exercise routine is, it also puts you in that space of meditation, like whether you realize it or not, unless you're all plugged in with your headphones or whatever. But for myself, when I go for a walk, I just want to listen to the birds and, feel the air, and, I kind of really just zone out.
Yeah, well, you make two great points, because one thing, when you walk or you do any exercise in general, and if if you don't know if you're doing it, you're going to do deep breathing. And deep breathing is a way to turn on the parasympathetic or the sympathetic nervous system. And that's just fancy words for your body either switches on to a fight or flight or an anxious state or a relaxed state. And the more you take deep breaths, the more you get into a relaxed state. That's super important, because when you're in a relaxed state, the body can heal. And when you're not in a relaxed state or you're agitated, your body can't heal. So you could take all the best nutrients and eat all the right things, but if you're anxious and just always on the run because of your lifestyle, then your body will not be able to heal if you're only getting 2-3 hours of sleep, or you're not able to sleep well. So deep breathing, fundamentally, either through meditation or just through walking or exercise, is going to help to calm the nervous system down. And it's also, another thing is, it's going to release a lot of neurotransmitters and chemicals in your brain, like serotonin, dopamine, and these chemicals that are going to help you feel good. So these are feel good chemicals is what they are. And that's when you take Zoloft or Prozac. These chemicals are what is what's being released when you take these pills, but you can get the same thing through exercise. So that's why, once again, you could take a pill for something which has side effects that goes to your liver, your kidneys, and in your blood, or you can just do it naturally through movement every day. So that's what I'm saying. Our body naturally creates these feel good chemicals, and it wants them, these endorphins.
Yep.
And they're released every time you exercise. So once again, our body is a self-sustaining mechanism. We just have to, practice the right techniques.
I don't think people too also sometimes don't realize, like, they like, again, they look at it as a chore, so don't think of it as something that makes them feel good or is fun in any type of way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I like to swim. I go over to the pool. It's a way of doing some extra exercise that doesn't seem like it's exercise. I'm swimming, or even going for the walk. It doesn't. I mean, I walk at a good pace because I know what I'm doing, for what I want to do for myself. But I don't look at it as like, oh, this is a chore. And a matter of fact, there's another person that I saw on YouTube, and he was just saying he used to be an athlete, and he's older now. He's a couple of years older than me, and he's an athlete. He used to be an athlete in soccer and everything in college, whatever he did, blah blah. And he goes, he doesn't do anything anymore. He goes, I did enough exercise, and and it's like it became, I guess, like not to say good or bad, but in his mind, perhaps from it being part of something that he had to do, whatever.
Exactly.
Maybe it set him off. He doesn't have the relationship with it. Like exercise is your friend. It's like a nice
No,
relationship.
and exactly right. And unfortunately, I work with many people who are athletes. And, my degree is in health and wellness, so I look at it as a long term. One of my heroes was always like Jack LaLanne, for example, and he looked at exercise over a lifetime, and he
Right.
did it. He died in his 90s. He was still working out, and that's something that I want to model for people. But unfortunately, athletes have been drilled in that everything is performance based, right? So everything they're doing was like to be the best athlete, chase seconds. So you're right. They created a conditioning program in their brain. I would say conditioning, unfortunately, of associating exercise with negativity.
Right.
Right. And that's one thing as an athlete, I was myself. I was conscious of that. And when I got into the health and wellness field was to make exercise fun for me. And I really have, really made it an intention to do that. And that's why I get away from weight loss and all these other ideas and look at long term, instead of weight loss, look at osteoporosis, or look at releasing chemicals in the brain, or look at your lymphatic system. Look at things that are done over a long period of time to heal you instead of something that's performance based.
Right.
Because the reality is even if you're having the crappiest day in the world, you can still go out and do even if you're doing 40% and just do a light walk, it's still better than nothing. But to an athlete, they'll feel like, oh, it's either all or nothing. If I didn't do what I did yesterday, then it was worthless. They have a lot of those kind of attitudes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have an attitude, if I didn't lose a pound this week, then what's the point of exercise? And unfortunately, they're all looking at it wrong. It's about movement for health. And so even if you just do the slightest of movement, you're changing the chemistry of your body. And that's the most important fundamental thing that we need to understand. And that, it's just going to make me feel better.
Yep.
I don't think a lot of them understand, the chemicals and how it changes their brain, and they don't understand that science of it. And so, they don't think of it that way. Because, any of us have done it, sometimes you don't want to work out. And then every time for me, after 10 minutes, 15 minutes in, I'm fine. It's just getting through that 5-10 minute barrier of,
Yep.
mine. And once you get in there, then you can usually go for an hour anyway, 45 minutes or whatever time is allocated.
Yep. No, absolutely. And and it's and speaking to what we're saying, it's just, again, it goes back to what I talk about a lot in general on Operation Status Quo. Just the program of our society, and just talking about, like, if you would go to somebody and say, listen, you don't need the Prozac, you could just go for a walk. But somebody would be like, no, I don't go for a walk. I want the Prozac. It's like how the conditioned and attached, and I don't even want to say it's lazy or anything. I just think it's just like a lack of realization. The human nature, we're animals in a way. So, everybody wants the quickest, easiest, right? Everybody's caught up. You're doing your thing. You want, if this pill is going to make you feel better so you can keep on with the routine. Like, when they show all those commercials for, oh, you went to the barbecue and now you have heartburn, tums, or something like that. Oh, pizza at work, you weren't ready for that, tums. And everything's about just, oh, you can still eat all the junk and, take a Tums, it'll settle your stomach, and, as opposed to the stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's very true. I mean, it's conditioning. I was just watching a commercial yesterday, and it really hit me. There was this lady who was, and I forget what pill she was taking it for. It's a recent commercial where she's dancing, and then the whole community comes in, and there's like a mailman coming in, and they're all dancing, and she goes up to like the water fountain, and she starts swirling around, and she's like, "This is saving me," or whatever. And I apologize because I don't know what thing it's for, what condition, because every day it's a new condition, right? But the lady myself is like 100 pounds overweight, and like everyone in the commercials 60, 70 pounds overweight, and it's like we make this normal and like it's okay. But I mean, if you look at us, even in our generation, I would say even like World War II or younger, like skinny was the normal, but now we slowly made it where like being obese is okay. And I'm not suggesting whether you're obese or not, and it's not about shaming anybody, it's not about any of that. I'm just saying that we weren't made to be overweight and toxic, and we're now making these acceptable things on our commercials so that people feel like this is normal, but it's not. And sometimes in life, we have to get uncomfortable with ourselves. I know there's many times in my life when I had to face things about myself that I didn't like, and I had to accept them, and it hurt. But I took it as a positive and then changed myself. But, I think today we want to just, we don't want, this idea of like not hurting people, or nobody wants to be hurt with their feelings. It's all a way to condition us to be less than. Because if you want to be great at something, you have to fail, and you have to look at your limitations and then move further, and that's the only way we can grow.
Yep. One other thing I wanted to touch on, just speaking of different types of exercise, obviously the walk is simple, weights, everything has its own place for what you're trying to do, accomplish, or whatever, just doing a push-ups, like you said, too. And, being that I teach the Bikram style yoga, it was making me think while you were talking of, some of the different benefits that you get from that, as opposed, like, when you're doing these postures, not just the stretches per se, but also like the forward compressions, like, you compress, or, do this pose and then you lay down in savasana and let the blood flush through. So I was just wondering what your thoughts were of like the benefits of how that's flushing your system.
You make a great point. So, that's the thing, like the Vedas, which were ancient texts, and, you had rishis and Hindus and yogis, they understood all this. They were actually smarter than we were today. And they understood, they would meditate, and they would bring spiritual energy down, and they would actually, get all their great ideas through meditation, and all this information was already known beforehand. We're actually more archaic now than we were back then. And they understood how, so what I'm trying to suggest is that yoga was a science to them, of like hatha yoga, of stretching. It was a science, and it was a great science because it hits all the topics we talk about. Like you said, it hits compression. So when you compress the spine and you compress the certain movements in certain ways, it clears out your chakras. So they understood chakras. So right. People today, like a health and wellness expert, like anyone that you see or has got a personal trainer, they don't know about chakras, and they're not, they're just trying to work on your muscles, your tendons, and your ligaments, and your central nervous system, but they don't even know the chakras exist, and that, that's something that you need to work on. So, they were working on technologies and insight of the body. They were working on the energy body as well. And like you said, the lymphatic system and say the word for me, where you relax.
The forward compression,
relax when you relax for a minute.
Oh, the savasana. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
When you relax, that's allowing the blood to flow afterwards. And so like you compress the blood and then you let it to flow to the extremities. So they understood that. So they were working on the lymphatic system there. And when, like, for example, I know there's postures where you move your neck up and down, or you move your spine, and each one is indirectly working on a certain chakra. So when they designed the hatha yoga for an hour and a half, it works on all the chakras. And that's why when you come out, you almost feel high when you're done, because you've cleared all your chakras, and you've also moved all the blood around. And I know in that type of particular modality that an hour and a half of hatha yoga is equal to like an extra day or two of life. That's how powerful it is in healing.
Oh, well, that sounds pretty well. When I see I'm getting towards the end of the life, I might start hitting yoga every day to extend it out a little bit longer.
And it is what it is. But the point being that it was a science, and that's what it was designed for. Hatha yoga was designed for, one, to heal the body, and it was designed so that you can sit in meditation for 12 hours and bring spiritual energy down and insight. So that's what it was designed for.
Yeah, that is. Thank you for saying that, because it always, they always say pranayama, meditation, asana. Yeah, the asana, meditation, and pranayama are seamlessly one. Like basically saying your movement, your body, of your body, your breath, and what did I say? And meditation. Like it all creates the one. That's the whole point of it. The whole point of the purpose of the yoga is to strengthen your body to the point where you can sit in meditation for long periods of time.
Yeah, because once again, yoga is union with the mind and union with God, and to get to oneness. Oneness is going beyond you and your ego and getting into, and going beyond everything, non-duality, where you just become one. And to do that, you do that in meditation. So yoga really was never designed for exercise. In our culture, in the Western culture, we think of yoga and we think of exercise, and we think of people in short pants, doing extreme poses. But the reality is it was always meant as a spiritual practice to evolve into liberation beyond the the human experience, and understand that we're oneness, and that's the whole point of it. And the Hatha yoga was just a branch that came off from that for exercise to keep people well, and so that, like we said, they can stay in those positions. But don't ever think that the Hatha yoga is the main point. I would say that's the least of what yoga is.
No, I agree with that. Yeah. So, all right. Well, Mike, I think this has been some great information of providing some insights to people of just how important it is, in a sense of it's not even about like, forget the word exercise almost, because I think maybe that has a negative connotation in a sense, just about the importance of just like, being in your body, feeling your body, knowing your body, moving in your body, feeling connected, vibrant with your body, that's really what it's all about.
And I would say that our bodies, once again, because in yogic perspective, is that our body has everything it needs inside of itself to heal itself. So even, for example, like a lot of people do psychedelics, or they go on like ayahuasca or these type of mushrooms. They do these things to have these experiences, right? To release, because what they release is like DMT, and they release these chemicals that allow your body to go to a different consciousness or state. But it was proven in a book where when we die that DMT is released. So when you die, you literally release DMT, and when you sleep at night, you release DMT. And if you were to stay in a dark room, like after you're in a dark room for over 12 hours, DMT starts to increase 3 times fold. So if you were to stay in a dark room for 3 days straight, you would release all this DMT, and that would release a state of you feeling like you left your body. So it's like, what I'm saying is these are all endogenous. They're all part of who we are. And it's the same thing with feel-good chemicals and chemicals to heal our body. Our bodies are, like I said, they're spiritual machines that can, produce any hormones, chemicals that we need to be well. They're already within us. We just have to learn how to activate them. And one way to do that is through meditation. And another way to do that is through exercise.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. I want to give you a round of applause here. I think that was some great information for the beautiful audience out there of Operation Status Quo. Yeah. Heyo. So, all right. Well, I can't help myself. How I am with the sound effects. So, I got to be honest. When I have you on, I'm very limited. I don't break out the whistles, the bells, the harmonicas. I know we're trying to, have a certain level of decorum in these presentations. People who want to see my nonsense, they can tune in the rest of the week. So, but seriously.
We both bring good parts. You bring the humor, and I just try to bring a little more of the spirituality and a little more of the seriousness. So It's a good.
No, I appreciate because what you're speaking and the stuff that we're sharing. It's not, we joke around or whatever, but I don't want to make light of any of it. I want people to. That's the whole point of why I have this channel and bring you on and different things that I do or whatever is trying to get people just to see things another way, and just it's not even just say get them to see things another way, just the realization of everything you just said of like what our bodies really are and how powerful we are, and just the simple thought that you can maintain your own health. Just imagine if you can do that. You can accomplish anything in your life in a sense. It makes you realize that it's all really everything is up to you, whether it be your exercise, your career, your family life. How you integrate with this quote unquote paradigm, with matrix or whatever we're living in. It's really just all up to you to create.
It really is, and that's the thing. You are your own master. And like I said, earlier in the podcast, that's what all the prophets were trying to teach us, right? They've always said that, what I can do, you can do better, and that they were all encouraging everyone not to, be them or to worship them, but to use them as an example of what to do and how to do it. That's what a guru is. That's what a good coach is. That's what a good teacher is. That's what a good parent is, right? We show people the way, and you lead a horse to water, but they have to drink for themselves, right? And that's what we're doing. That's like you said earlier, this is free, and everyone can have their own healing, and everyone should be empowered. Unfortunately, anything on the TV is always going to make you, like through the news, is going to make you feel fear, and anything through the medications or through the pharmaceutical companies are going to make you want to feel dependent on them, because that's how they make a living. They're entrusted to their stockholders to make money every year. So if they're not making money, they're not happy. They're not worried about your wellness. They're not worried about your health. And unfortunately, that's just the real truth of it. And you really have to start to look at yourself yourself and take personal responsibility. And I know it seems like a lot, and sometimes it could be scary, but we have plenty of coaches around. You could always call me, and we can work through it. But if not, just there's plenty of resources, and just start slow.
Yep,
But,
step by step. You don't have to do it all in one day, Yep.
No, but you have to get to the point where you take personal responsibility. When we get scared or fearful, we just condition go right to the doctor and do what they say. But I would just say that if you just took time to meditate and ask your angel, spirit, or your higher self what the answer is, the answer would come to you, and the right healing would come to you. So work those ways more of working in fear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Mike. Well, I think we're gonna leave it there today, unless there's anything else, any other messages or anything you have. Otherwise, we're going to leave it there. What do you think?
Yep. No, we'll leave it there. Just urge everyone once again, just to get moving somehow. Just go for a walk, go outside every day. Just make it a commitment for 30 days to go for a walk every day. Drink a couple liters of water. Maybe put a half a teaspoon of baking soda, or and if not that, just consume a lot of vegetables.
And at least start by standing up or something. I just mean not for anything. If you're playing video games, stand up and play the video game instead of sitting in the chair. Start there.
Yep. Yeah, take 5 minutes during the commercials when you're watching a show. Take 5 minutes and just do stretching. Just some simple.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, Mike, I want to thank you so much for your time today here on Operation Status Quo, helping the people out there heal and empower themselves. And we'll be having you back on soon for more great information. So thank you so much for being here today, and I appreciate it.
Yep, I'm really enjoying it, and I look forward to next week.
All right, sounds good. All right, I'm going to let you go, and then we go back over here to this over here, and there we are, and that's Michael Palma of Personalized Wellness Solutions. His contact information is in the description box below, so feel free to reach out, and he'll be happy to help you with your get well needs, as it were. Hey-o. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again so much for your time today, being here on Operation Status Quo. Hope you found this information valuable and useful for yourself in your personal life, however that may be. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, share. We're actually up to 491. We're only 9 away from 500 subscribers. So if you come across this and you enjoyed it, I encourage you. And if it's in the cards, hit the button. Subscribe. Let's hit that 500. All right. Operation Status Quo, where we observe the quo, we flow with the quo, and then we create our own flow of quo. Appreciate your time. God bless each and every one of you individually as well as a group. I love you out there. And that's it. I'll be back tomorrow with more. So until then, Operation Status Quo, disengaged.